In this video, I'll be removing the factory exhaust and replacing it with the Flowmaster American Thunder for my F-150. Alright guys, so here it is up on some ramps. I think that's going to give me enough clearance to get this exhaust out of here. Factory exhaust starts there and continues over there. There's from there and then pushes back. So starting with the removal. Alright, I sprayed all the spots where the muffler slides in and out. Right there. I sprayed these spots. And then there's one above that and one at the back. WD-40 just to help make it easier to disassemble and remove. Okay, for removal, I start off by removing the two bolts there that are all the way, if you follow your factory exhaust system in, you get to here and there's where your flange is and the two bolts have to be removed. Alright guys, so after I loosen those, you can see I've already started wiggling it back, and because of WD-40, so far it's been pretty easy. You see these are all pulled back. So now I went back there too. I'm just at the last part, getting the last little bit of clearance so I can drop this out. See how it goes. Okay, so I had the jack underneath just in case, for safety, because I have not done this before, which really helped because once I wiggle this all the way out, that wanted to drop down. But the jack stand saved it from doing that. Or the floor jack, hydraulic jack I should say. So now I just have to drop it here. And then the last part is figuring out a way to, without having the car all the way up in a lift, the truck all the way up in a lift, figure out a way to manipulate up and over, and then I can remove the whole system and start with the install. Alright, almost there. So, you see I got it over the main hump now. Now I just have a last little part that's wedging back there. I'm going to just shift this up some. I think it's catching on the jack now. But that got me over the hump. So just a little extra height on the side here gave me enough room with it here on the wheel stands to get this done. Okay, and she's out of there. Now, if you wanted to make it easy on yourself, you could just cut it somewhere around there and not have to worry about snaking it, working around up and under to get it off. I wanted to keep it intact. It's worth a little bit of extra work. So either in the future I can put it back on, or I can sell it fully stock to somebody who needs to replace it on their truck. So I think it's just better off if you're able to do it, but if you can't, then cut it, you'll get it off easier. Okay, so my parts are all laid out. Flowmaster American Thunder exhaust for my F-150. Alright, so with the factory exhaust removed, the first thing it says to do is simply install this hanger bolt, which is, I'm at the back left of the truck, and you just insert it in that way, and then you'll put the square metal plate on the back side, followed by a flat washer, then a lock washer, and then your nut. And it says to tighten firmly, but do not over tighten, so I think we're good there. Alright, time for the first piece in. And so it says just to connect it there, put the nuts and bolts in just enough to hold it in place, but don't tighten it down yet because we're going to need to move these things around as we're trying to get the rest of the system set up. Alright guys, so next I started the nuts and bolts. I just propped it up on a floor jack just to hold it in place while I put them on. I kept them pretty loose because it does say you want to be able to move this around as you're putting the rest together. So on to the next step. Alright guys, so I got the first pipe connected up at the flange and came back here. This part I think is actually pretty important. It's hard to see when you're looking at the instructions that come with it, but if you look at the picture very closely and try to make sure you orient it right, the way that the factory is installed is a little different than the way these go in. It actually faces, these metal prongs face this direction and go through that way. But when installing the Flowmaster exhaust, the picture shows that you orient it the opposite way, where this comes through towards the back, which is the opposite direction how the factory was. When I first put it on there, I took a good look at it and double checked, which I'm glad, because I wouldn't want to get more put together and then have to back up again. So I'll let you know if I'm wrong and retry this again, but from my understanding, this support comes from underneath, oriented from front to back, opposite of the way it looks when you take it off factory, which is facing towards the front. Hopefully that helps. It looks like it gives it a better angle now to clear coming back this way than before. It was a little bit lower. We will see. I think this is right. All right, next step, I connected the inlet to that side. Just kind of hand tightened down the clamp a little bit, but kept it pretty loose still for manipulation. And then on the back end, put the 2.5 inch clamps on each side back there. Ready for the next. All right, the next piece is in. So what we did is just take this piece, run it over the axle, and then there's a hanger right there that it slides into. So as long as you have the muffler jacked up, these pieces have been going together pretty easy. And all I did was do again the same thing, just a little bit of hand tightening, but I'm waiting till I get everything in position before I start cranking everything down. All right, the next piece is in. Same thing, take it right over the axle there, slides in there, hooks on the hanger, and then it just runs over the back. Easy. All right guys, the next piece is on. This one was actually a little bit of a pain. What I ran into is, once I put it up in there, I could not get this onto the boot. So the rubber holder there. So what I had to do is actually unbolt it, connect this first, and then lift it up and bolt it back in. That's how I got it to work. All right, so I got the next two pieces. All that's left is the tips. Go through and make these final adjustments, tighten things down at the tips. I opted for the rear side exhaust. You could also use these instead and opt for the straight out the back, which I may change it up later. I'm just not sure which way I like it better, so I'm going to try this way out for a little bit, and then it's easy. So if you decide in the future that you want to do straight out the back instead, all you have to do is take off that clamp, and then of course take off the final piece, which is your Flowmaster tip that sits right there. So all you have to do is remove this one and remove that one, and then put this on the new exit pipe, and therefore you can come straight out the back instead. Well, I'm getting close. Keep on going. Alright guys, quick video to show you how to fix a tailpipe that has a bend or a flattened area in it, so it's not shaped as a nice circle anymore. See, you can see that one isn't a circle. You get a pipe expander, and it's pretty simple. You just slide it in, and then you start cranking on this until it opens up, and it will give you a nice round circle again, which will allow you to slide it onto your other fittings. Alright, so I like to be a little more on the cautious side, so it's not a perfect circle, but I feel like I went enough that it made it round enough to work, and therefore I don't risk misshaping it or going too far to where I break the tool or change the size of this in a way that I shouldn't. So just did just enough to get it round enough. I think this will work. I'll give it a try. Okay guys, I opted for the rear side exits. I had a lot of trouble with tightening these to get this from coming down. It wanted to keep coming down even with that all the way tight, so I actually backed it off this as much as I could where it was still just on there enough, and then I put the little metal piece inside there, inside one of the little grooves, and then tightened down as much as I can, and it seems to be holding decent now. I don't want to torque on it too much because I said it kept wanting to come down on me. But the next part is the fun part. Get to see how it sounds and how it drives. Okay guys, here's what it sounds like from a stock takeoff and acceleration inside the cab. And then cruising speed, here's what it sounds like. Alright guys, the exhaust is in. Let's see what it sounds like inside the cab. Here we go.